You want me to stand for that or sit?
I can maneuver it however you want.
Okay, I'll just stand for it.
Okay.
What got you guys interested in PA to start off with? And I'll kind of address those things if they're true or not, in my experience.
It's one of those I haven't really been in yet, so just kind of get a taste of the career field.
Okay. So you're going around. You're gonna listen to pretty much everybody.
Well, every semester, yeah.
3.
Okay.
So far, well, we chose 4, but we're going to have time to listen to 3 today.
Okay. All right, great. Well, I think PA is a great career field. It's pretty unique because it is something that is not your typical career field because you never know what you're going to get. You know, each day could be different. It's never boring, put it that way. Whereas some career fields might have kind of a checklist, and you do these things like a pilot, for example. Like whenever they fly, they have a checklist that they go by to make sure that they took off correctly and land correctly and those kind of things. But in PA, there's very few of those kind of checklists, and a lot of it is it's kind of fly by the seat of your pants in a way, because you just never really know what you're going to face, and because of that, sometimes there hasn't been any kind of event like that or crisis or something like that in the past. You don't really have anything to go by as like a benchmark or to go back to look at and say, this is how they did it, so this is how I should do it. There's not a whole lot of that sometimes. So it's you really get a chance to be creative and put. And there's obviously a tech school, and you'll get training on how to do certain things, but it is definitely unique. It's not by the book in most cases. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a PAO for 12 years. I graduated in 2004 from University of Tennessee, ROTC. And I've been a PA ever since. I've been deployed 4 times. I've been to Iraq, Afghanistan, and Djibouti, which is in Africa, twice. So a lot of people think that PAs don't really deploy very much because, why would you need PA kind of stuff overseas? But that's not true. You deploy quite a bit. So if you're looking for a job that you want to stay home and and don't really ever deploy, this would not be the job because you do deploy quite a bit. So I've been at 2 wings at Tyndall in Florida, Dias in Texas. Went to Numbered Air Force, which is 1 step above a wing in Japan. Spent 3 years there. And then from there I went to the Pentagon, where I was at the Air Staff for 4 years. And now I'm here at ACSC, Air Command Staff College. So it's kind of the rundown of my thing. So I've been in quite a few crisis situations where I've had to put some of these kind of tools to use, and sometimes unprecedented kind of issues. For example, in Japan, I was there during the earthquake and tsunami in 2011. Okay, so meaning as a Numbered Air Force, I was a 1 deep position. There was no other PA. It was just me. There's 3 wings. There's Yokota there in Tokyo. There's Misawa up north, and then Kadena and Okinawa on the island. So there's 3 wings that kind of supported my Numbered Air Force. So I had help in a way, but nobody was actually working with me side by side. So just 1 deep position. And so I had to help lead that communication strategy during a very, very difficult time. We had a lot of uncertainty with the radiation, with the voluntary departure, which is pretty much a mass exodus of dependents away from Japan, and all these kind of things, humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, all happening at the same time. So very, very complex. That was just one example of something that had never happened before, right? So how do you kind of approach that? And it can be very challenging. So that was a major crisis situation that we had to deal with. And there's been some other things in the past too, like plane crashes and that kind of thing. So a lot of times you might see a picture someday of the way people used to think of PA, where the commander's sitting at his desk, and it's like a cartoon, sitting at his desk, and then up here would say break glass in case of emergency, and there's a PA holding a briefcase and big smile on his face. You may have seen that. If not, you probably will eventually if you ever do get into PA. It's kind of a running joke. That's the way it used to be, right? Like if a crisis occurred, you break glass, you get your PA out, and they handle whatever kind of crisis response, communication-wise, needs to occur. But now it's a lot more proactive. We do a lot of proactive things to help build those relationships with communities, with media, with public, and all the different audiences that we think are important to communicate with. So that's a big part of our job. Engagement, relationship building, relationship maintenance, working with the media, working with community civic leaders, communicating with the public, various kind of communication strategies and those kind of things. So what kind of questions do you guys have?
Did you graduate with a degree related to PA, or did you just?
So I graduated with, I went to school for mass communications with a kind of specialization in broadcasting. I've never used broadcasting per se. I've never like developed a video or spoke on camera or off camera to develop a kind of a product, because that is generally an enlisted person's job. So I never really had a chance to do that personally. But I've been on camera doing media interviews, prep people for those. So it has helped. It certainly has helped. Understanding the theory of communication, that's a lot. That's what they talk about a lot in mass comm. Anybody in that kind of academic major? What kind of majors do you guys have?
Aerospace engineering.
Okay.
Aerospace.
Airspace.
Aerospace.
Oh yeah?
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Is this a big school for that? Do most people here go for that?
Big engineering, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. I'm sure that's very difficult, very challenging. That kind of,
Sometimes.
yeah. Probably more challenging than what I had. I didn't have that much math. I'm sure you guys have a lot of math.
I'm sure you had a lot more English and whatnot.
Yeah, a lot of English, a lot of writing. So that's one thing that's really important in a PA kind of toolkit to be able to be good at is writing. I mean, probably like 70% of my time is just writing. It could be writing speeches, it could be writing stories, or it could be editing other people's stories. So you have to know how to be a good writer in order to edit other people's writing. So that's a big part of our job, and that comes with time. I mean, you're not going to really know it as soon as you graduate if you get into PA. You're not going to know it right away. So you go to school for it, and then over time, people help you learn more about it. Or the kind of questions you might have.
You said you're a PA for 12 years now? When you went into the Air Force, did you plan on being a PA at the start or for the whole time?
Yeah, so I'm actually prior enlisted, so when I enlisted in the Air Force in '97, I was an aircraft maintainer. And I decided I didn't want to do that although it was interesting, I didn't want to do that all my life, so I applied for a scholarship program called SOAR, Scholarships for Outstanding Airmen, to ROTC. So I separated in 2000 and got a scholarship, and I kind of knew at that point that I wanted to do something in communications and broadcasting, because it was just interesting to me. And then this was really the closest job that I could get that use those kind of skills and that kind of degree. So that's pretty much how I got into VA.
What was your experience like over at Tennessee, that detachment?
Well, it was a good experience. I ended up being, so I went through the full 4 years and ended up being the detachment, what do we call that? But whoever the highest ranking cadet is, commander or something?
Commander.
Wing commander? Okay, I forgot, it's been a while. So I made it up that position and got DG out of it, so it was a good experience for me. Yeah.
So what's a typical day like for PA?
Okay, that's a good question. So it's going to depend a little bit on where you're stationed. So if you had a wing, which is kind of like the heart of where most of the action happens, right? So you probably have a shop of about 15 or 16 people who would work for you, mostly enlisted, probably with a few civilians. Generally, you're going to be the only officer in the entire PA, entire office. You might have, if you're, let's say a captain, you might have a second lieutenant. So you might, as a second lieutenant, if you got PA, you might actually have an officer above you. But so it could be, you might be planning for something that's happening in the future, like an air show. It could be, depending on where you are placed as second lieutenant, you might be overseeing some, it's generally divided into 3 sections: community operations, community engagement, and command information, which is communicating directly to the internal audience, the airmen, families, and those kind of people who are assigned to the base. So you might kind of oversee or at least be involved in one of those 3 sections, so it would depend on where you're assigned. So you might be preparing for some kind of media engagement or media interview, or writing a story yourself, going out and covering something and interviewing people, and or it might be, if you're in the community engagement side, you might be planning for a tour, because that's part of the job is to do base tours. So it could be that once you get up higher in rank and you're overseeing the whole office as the boss, you're managing all that. You're a little bit less of a tactician at that point as a captain and more of a manager, leader, leading the office and overseeing what they're doing and making sure that you're all kind of in line with what the commander wants, the 06 or the 1-star, whoever's running the base, you know. And making sure that whatever it is that you guys are doing are in line with his objectives, both his operational objectives and his communication objectives. So whatever it is that you all do as PA should support the commander in his operational objectives and communication objectives. So if he's trying to, for example, decrease the number of DUIs on base, which is generally a problem everywhere you go, it goes in cycles where sometimes it goes up and a lot of people get DUIs and sometimes it goes back down, but whenever it goes up, the commander will often look at a PA, say, help me fix this problem. How can we get people to stop drinking and driving so much? You know, so you might form a team, like a Tiger team or something like that, and start working on a plan to help communicate. And this is another way to be creative, because again, it's not necessarily a checklist. It's something that you think of and maybe look to the way people have done it in the past, or look to the commercial type corporate PAs, PR type people, and see what they do on certain issues and what kind of tools they use, what techniques that they use, and tactics, and then develop a plan and try to decrease that DUI percentage rate, that kind of thing. So that's how you might meet his both operational objectives and communication objectives. So if you're at the wing, that's kind of what you do, overseeing all those different kind of communication issues. But once you move on to a different area, like if you're at the major command, you would oversee or at least help coordinate among all the different wings, right? So a MAGCOM might have 10 wings under it or so, so you kind of be that middleman between all those wings and that 4-star, so helping to not only support the 4 stars, communication and operational objectives, but then also supporting the wings that are kind of reporting to the MAGCOM, coordinating and assisting, advising, and those kind of things. So you're doing some of the similar things no matter where you go, but the scope of it might change. You might be doing more of it, or you might be supporting a higher ranking commander, and it gets a little bit more complicated the higher ranking they are. And then if you're not at a MAGCOM or at a wing, you might be at the air staff. And then if you're at the air staff, they have a press desk, they have, again, like a civic engagement section, and they have where I was, which is called the Resources and Requirements Division, and it's kind of like career field management. And what I did was focusing on inward development of PAs, leadership development, education, training, deployments, all these different things that to help the career field survive and function and remain stable. Those kind of things that we might do. Go ahead.
Would PA, working with like public affairs, would a PA have worked on something like getting this set up, where getting people to come out here from air staff work, the air staff college to come out here and talk with everybody? Or would that have gone through someone else?
Well, it could have been through PA generally. It could have been, sure. We might be the PA is generally like the first point of contact whenever outside agencies want something from the base, whether it's they want people to participate in their parade downtown, or to get speakers to speak downtown, those kind of things. PA is usually the one that they call first. So yes, that answer I believe would be yes. But in this particular case, it was not me who coordinated this as a PA. We had somebody else who kind of took that on. So, generally, yes.
And then another one, you talked about the tsunami, especially with like Hurricane Matthew that's been going on recently. What exactly are PA's roles when natural disasters strike?
A lot of it is overseeing combat camera, and combat camera is a unit. There's 2 of them, one in San Antonio, one in Charleston, South Carolina. And these people deploy for short notice kind of crisis response like this, or they also deploy for longer range deployments, like 6 months overseas, that kind of thing. But whenever something like a natural disaster strikes, there's always a lot of interest from senior leaders within the Pentagon who want to make sure that whatever support that the Air Force is providing is documented, is promoted, kind of advertised. So the best way to do that, or one of the best ways, is to get our own people, the combat camera folks, who are really PAs, who are enlisted PAs, who deploy quickly with all their gear down to wherever that disaster strike zone is, and then start taking pictures and video and interviewing people and those kind of things, and then getting them to the media, because sometimes the media can't even get into where we can get into, so they can't even get the footage. But like if you see, you know, a helicopter, a UH-60 hovering over somebody who needs rescued, you know, and there might be a combat camera PA person on the helicopter looking down, shooting that, where the paratrooper, whoever it is, you know, is going down and rescuing somebody. That's the kind of thing that is really gold for us, is getting those images and then getting them released through the media. And in that way, it kind of helps show the story, not just, you know, show it what it is that we're doing to support. And there might be other issues too. It's not just imagery that we deal with. It might be working with FEMA. So there's usually some kind of joint coordination center that gets together, and then they use PAs to help set up interviews, media engagements, and those kind of things to help, again, show and tell what it is that we're doing to support.
Would there be, like a FEMA, for instance, would there be a PA at the staging area at the command center where all that's going on?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
This might be a similar question, but how does your job change when you're being deployed, or does it change at all? Or?
Yeah, it can change depending on the deployment. So my first time I deployed was in 2007. I was a first lieutenant, and I worked as a deputy chief or deputy director of the mission for PA. And it was a lot of media engagement, getting media out to see what it is that we're doing, and those kind of engagements with our African partners. So it's sort of like the same type of job, but just with different people, essentially. And then later on I went to Iraq, and I again did a lot of media-focused, media-heavy things, where the mission that I was assigned to was the detainees, so all the Iraqi and foreign fighters who were fighting us, who would get detained. The media had an interest in kind of seeing how we were treating them. This is after Abu Ghraib, where they were mistreated. So now media are interested in seeing how we changed and how we were treating them fairly and with dignity and respect. So a lot of people came and wanted to see that. So again, a lot of media stuff. So it could be very similar, just the topic might change, but what you're doing could be pretty similar. Do you guys got to rotate out here in a minute, or do you have more time?
I think we should be getting pretty close.
They'll normally come around and tell us.
They will, okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be almost 14:50 now, so they should be coming here in a few minutes.
So if you guys had your wish, and you can choose anything you want, what would be your job? Pilot or
Yes, sir.
engineer or?
Pilot for me, sir.
Okay. When do you,
Engineer for me.
I think A-1.
okay. When do you find out?
You go up for the rated board the year before you commission, so I'll go for rated board next year.
Okay.
Be about 2 years for me. I imagine all of us for a 5-year program.
I'm
Yes.
4.5.
Okay.
Yeah, the Air Force is in a big shortage of pilots right now, so, as I'm sure you've heard.
A lot of them flooding out to the airlines now. So.
Yeah. So they're having a lot of trouble keeping them. So I certainly wish you luck if that is what you want to get, and hope that you do get it, or whatever it is, ALO or engineering you might want. But if you ever had a number 2 choice, PA is certainly a good job. What's another unique thing about being a PA is that you are generally the lowest ranking person at the table with the commander. That the wing commander being generally in 06. Ready to rotate?
Yes, sir. Ready?
Okay.
To go.
Anyways, those are usually a bunch of colonels and lieutenant colonels and stuff sitting at the table advising him. and you as a first lieutenant or a captain or something are generally the lowest ranking person. And that never changes. When you go up to being at the 4-star level, you might be an 06, but everybody else who's advising the 4-star is a 2-star, you know, like all the way up that the PA has only a 1-star, that's as high as you can go pretty much. A 1-star runs our entire career field. And that person is at the table with 3 and 4 stars, you know, so you're always the most junior person, but that means that you have access to the commander and visibility more than really any other career field that I can think of. Because as a pilot, absolutely no offense or nothing against pilots, but you are usually in a squadron with a lot of captains, a lot of majors, and you can get really lost in that, you know, sea of many faces, you know, it's hard to stand out, really is what I'm trying to say, but as a, you know, on the wing staff, as a captain or something, and you're advising the commander, he knows you do a good job, you get a good reports, you know, good OPR, whereas the pilot, the highest he might go is squadron commander, that's who knows him, the wing commander doesn't know him, you know, that's the kind of thing that, the one advantage that the PA's have. But anyways, I'll leave you with that. Go ahead and rotate out, and it was a pleasure meeting you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.